I was looking for a doctor to optimize my health because I was getting older. So I ended up having to see 6 different doctors. What I had to do was make appointments, go wait for hours, seeing the so-called specialist, how could it be resolved, and then make another appointment with another specialist for something else that the first specialist couldn't give me an answer or help me with. I wanted to prevent a condition called gynecomastia. I found one. I was so successful and my problems were resolved in 1 2-hour meeting with him.
George, thank you very much for coming to my DiceE podcast. I really
You're welcome.
I really appreciate you. You one of the most wonderful doctors I ever met, and over the year I got not only incredible healthy and fixed my health, I actually got more energy every time waking up, and I didn't have those as a, what they call it, man fogginess, like in my brain and stuff. So thank you for that. And I find out that you have more knowledge to share, and I want to sit down and talk to you about everything today.
I'm not a doctor, I have a medical knowledge and I take advantage of it
Oh,
because I work with doctors, but my background is biochemistry, nutrition, exercise, and rehabilitation.
I think in old days it's like, I think you would be a doctor, not officially doctor, but for me you are a doctor. You're my doctor, and I'll stay with that. Whatever government, you don't need a license for me to call you a doctor. So
That's fine.
yeah. So let's start with the first question, which you need to roll a dice.
Okay.
And tell me the number.
2.
2. Sounds good. If you were a cat, what kind of cat would you be?
A muscular cat.
Muscular cat?
Yeah.
Like the Asian cat? Like those?
Persian.
Persian cat? That sounds good.
A lot of fur because I get cold.
Oh, that's good. That's good. George, I don't know anything about your childhood. Where did you grow up? What you did? And tell me more.
I was I was born in Greece. I lived in island Crete until I was 14, and we came to Canada on my 14th to 15th year, and I've been here ever since. You want to elaborate more on that?
Please.
I was born in the northern part of Greece. I don't remember much about my first 5-6 years. I remember snow and cold. Then when my parents decided we were going to go to island Crete, I was very exuberant because I liked the warm climate. And in island Crete, I was very happy. The only thing I have to say that relates to us right now with my childhood is that I was very scrawny, really skinny, small. So when I got into a lot of fights, I lost them. So I would always go home with bloody nose and eyes and scraped knees. When we played soccer, the losing side had to fight the winning side because the losing side didn't admit they lost. So nope, that was not a goal. Nope. So we fight to see who won. That's the kind of street violence you encounter when you're way back then. So I decided I'm going to somehow find a way to build myself up. Started smoking, so I had to quit smoking. That was a bit of a challenge. And a friend of mine who lived next door to me, he invited me to go and work out with him. He was already getting shapely. I liked the way his physique looked. And he kept telling me you look like you want to get beat up. You have hardly any meat on you.
Mm.
So I said maybe I should do something about it. So he started working out on the roof of his building because the roofs there are flat. So he had weights and he had some very poor type of equipment, but it was good enough for us. I think I was 13 or 14. And I started to work out with him, do exercises. I fell in love with it to some degree because I could see the results right away. Continued to play soccer, and then when we moved, the first thing I did when we came to Canada is, like I promised him when I left, I looked for a gym. I had found a gym back home, but he was outdoor and he was not, I would call it very poor and very not efficient. But I went to when we came to Toronto, I started to look for a proper and very quality gym. Unfortunately, I didn't drive. It took me 4 buses and the subway to get there. So about an hour and a half ride there and an hour and a half ride back to the townhouse I lived. So as you can tell, I had no time between school and working out for anything else. But I liked it.
Want more Google reviews faster? With Apex NFC, your customer can share their experience with just a tap. More reviews mean more visibility, trust, and growth for your business. Stand out from the competition with Apex NFC. Use the code VictorTimewolf for 15% off your first order at apexnfc.com. Start growing your reviews today.
That's dedication to go to the gym. Some people don't want to go 5 minutes away from their house.
Exactly. Yeah, I was able to do homework in the bus
Oh,
because when I got home, I was working out. I was dead tired. So that makes me 15 years old. My weight when I came to Canada was 130 pounds. That's how small I was, skinny. And my first year of bodybuilding, because that's what you call them, I gained about 25 pounds on working out and eating. I can remember the cafeteria at the high school I was at, so I would be about 16, and I would buy and eat the whole chicken, and people would just stare at me, all the other kids. Wow, this guy's crazy. I would sit at lunchtime and just eat the whole chicken if I could. So eating protein and my early years anyways, it became a routine, and even though I didn't like to eat as much food as I ate, I knew I had no choice. So the benefit was that I gained close to 20 pounds in 1 year, and another 15 or so the next year. So at 17, I entered my first bodybuilding contest. I won my class, but on the senior class, because I was able as the winner of my class to go to the senior class, meaning men of any age, and I was 17, I came third. I think it was called the Mr. Scarborough contest, if I can remember correctly. I was happy with that, and it motivated me to continue. And I started to read books, magazines. I was just, all my spare time I spent was thinking, and just, I was fascinated with how much I can change my body and how quickly I can do it.
that's incredible. Talking about hobbies, I understand you like soccer or football, what we like to say, and gym. Have you had any other hobbies beside those?
Then,
Yeah.
so No, it was, what happened was I could not sacrifice time for the sports because I would lose muscle. That's how I looked at it. So I really focused on the weightlifting part and eating enough food to grow. If I were to, let's say, play another sport, I would actually lose muscle because calories in, calories out, workout in, workout, it would not work out in my favor, and I just only can eat so much food at a time.
Yeah.
And I was liking the gains, so I stuck with it. Except with a hobby, instead what I did is I joined about 5 or 6 sports when I was in high school because they were seasonal. I joined American football for the first time because they recruited me. They saw me, they liked my size for somebody who was just doing this because they liked it. And they recruited me to play football even though I didn't know the first thing about it. So I learned while I was playing the sport. And it was a tough sport for me, but I did really well. And I joined the soccer team because I already knew how to play soccer of the school team. And I joined the swim team because I was a relatively good swimmer because I swam a lot when I was living in Island Creek. And I joined water polo team, and I joined even floor hockey, and I knew nothing about that. But it was exciting, and I wanted to play sports. So during school year, I would definitely consider that they weren't hobbies, but I did additional sports.
That was interesting. Before we're going to move on to our second topic, please roll the dice.
2, again.
2 again. Okay. Well, I will ask you. No, I will ask you a special question then. It's okay. What's the best book you've read recently?
The most educational book overall is a book written by a doctor, Dr. Peter Attia. It's called Outlive. Just make sure, let me.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's what it's called, Outlive, and I would recommend it to anybody because I find that, yeah, it's Outlive, Peter Attia, MD. And I go back to it for references for work because it's probably the most comprehensive book on health, exercise, proper medicine, he has quite a lot of experience in exercise, and I actually right now follow his 4 pillars of exercise, he calls it, for the aging, for preventing aging, as it relates to how you stay strong, muscular, and mobile all the way up to your last years of your life. So I follow quite a bit of what he has in his book. So I would recommend it to anyone.
Definitely gonna read on my travels in my truck everywhere. So you started becoming a bodybuilder champion when you was 17, correct? Or
Yeah.
Entering the bodybuilding competition, yeah. What wins did you took? How long have you been doing that for? And
So the way it worked back then, you had to win a smaller contest to get to a bigger contest. In terms of the area you live. So Scarborough, it's just a small part of the city. But if you were to win the Scarborough championships or come the top 3, you qualify for the next level, which would be the whole city of Toronto. Mm-hmm. And if you were to place in the first, second, or third place in the Toronto championships, then you qualify for provincial. Mm-hmm. And if you won or came first, second, or third, the provincial, then you can go to, I remember from provincial you can jump to Eastern or Western Canada, and then if you did the same thing and won or came first, third, second, third, you can go enter the Mr. Canada or Canadian Championships. Mm. So I followed that path, and I can't remember my places, but I did place top 3 on all those levels up until the Eastern Canadian Championships. And that's the first time that I really, really tried hard, and I didn't even make the top 5. Mm. And that's when I decided that my bodybuilding days are over, because I was trying to compete as a natural.
Mm. How old you was?
No steroids, no drugs.
How old you was during that time?
How old?
Yeah.
So I was a time period between 17 to 23. Mm. And when I came out of university at 24, I had just finished entering the last competition before I semi-retired, because me and my ex-partner decided to open up a gym. Mm. And I could not be a bodybuilder because it's a very, very demanding sport, and have a 7-day-a-week full-time job building and opening and running a gym, which I did on a part-time basis for gyms that were not owned by me, just as a job, so I can make some money. So I worked in the gym area, local gyms in Toronto for about 2 to 3 years while I was in high school and university. Mm. That was my part-time job. And in the summertime, they would switch me from part-time to full-time until the next year, next educational year started. Then I would fall into part-time again.
Yeah. I saw some, have a picture of you on a stage and presenting. It's pretty cool. It's, when I saw it first time, I was like, this is George? Or why he has this picture of young man? Maybe it's his son, and stuff. So it's really interesting journey. Never attended one of this competition, and how hard it is just to compete in that environment.
It's a very difficult sport, because back then it was not even called a sport, because it involves, so it's not an event that you compete, so you only have to be good for that day. You can prepare, you can practice, but all that matters is the day of the event, or whatever the sport is.
Yeah.
With bodybuilding is you live it every day. Mm-hmm. Every day you wake up, you eat, you work out. It's all towards that one day. Mm. So the day of the competition is basically presenting your work that you've done for 6-7 months. Mm. That's what makes it difficult. Because every mistake or everything you do that is not conducive to being the best version of you as a bodybuilder will not, or will reflect on the day of the competition. Mm. So I do not drink alcohol, but I knew other competitors that would, let's say, drink on the weekend, and that took away quite a bit of the quality they wanted to achieve. Mm. And alcohol is just one thing. It could be junk food, it could be sweet, sugar, all the things that let's say, take away from the quality you want to achieve.
Understandable. That's pretty interesting. We will change the topic. Roll the dice. Doesn't matter.
14.
14. Okay. Where is it? If you could choose a different profession than what you're currently doing, what would it be?
I will be a stock market broker.
Oh, you can be one today. I have a friend who is having, I think, 70-year-old doing that right now. So you can, it's easy.
Well, let me then rephrase.
Yeah, please.
Right now, I'm in the stock market for myself because I find it exciting, interesting, so on and so forth. But what you asked me as a profession would be a different story. I would have, instead of going into medicine or biology, I would have gotten into business, worked in the stock market.
Oh, okay.
You know, if you go back 40 years or more, in my case, there was no Google, there was no media. Everything you had to do physically, and it took a lot of time. So my efforts to be in the stock market would have made me be a full-time stock salesperson. I don't know how to
Yeah.
title it to and make you understand. So I would be working on Bay Street in a brokerage.
Yeah.
And the reason I said that is because the field I'm in now, which is my passion, when I have something that is my passion, I have a tendency to become really good at it, and I have eternal thirst to learn. I could just work and learn forever. Same thing with the stock market. I get fascinated when I try to predict and try to evaluate stocks and positions to enter and exit and make money. And having the fear, if I make a mistake, I will lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
Guys, you probably didn't know about it, but I have my own coaching website. You're welcome to follow it in the link down below and see a lot of really important information about my coaching, about my courses. Don't forget to subscribe to my mailing list where I will be talking more about my future upcoming products and my future upcoming podcast. Keep tuned and let's get back to the show.
Yeah, understandable. Well, while we're talking about professions, could you then, you don't classify yourself as doctor, so could you explain what exactly your profession is at the moment?
That's one of the most difficult things. So
Yeah.
I do have background in nutrition, a big background in exercise training, not just for bodybuilding. I've trained and coached many different athletes on various sports, including bodybuilding and football, other types of sports, swimmers. And maybe I could, instead of answer your question directly, I can give you the background of what became of me and how I am where I am today. So about 15, 16 years ago, I had some issues to do with my health because I was aging, and I wanted to find a legitimate and knowledgeable doctor who can address my needs. I wasn't looking for a doctor because I was obese, because I had diabetes, or because I had cardiovascular disease. I was looking for a doctor to optimize my health because I was getting older. So this would have been, I was almost getting to close to 50 years old. And I couldn't find any. So I ended up having to see 6 different doctors.
Mm.
And at the time, what I had to do was make appointments, go wait for hours, seeing the so-called specialist I was going to see, and try to figure out with this doctor what that issue I was having, how could it be resolved, and then make another appointment with another specialist for something else that the first specialist couldn't give me an answer or help me with. And I had not one, but 2 general physicians also as part of my entourage or part of my group of medical advisors, let's put it that way. So at the time when I had a few issues, I was seeing 6 different doctors. I was seeing a hematologist, a blood specialist. I was seeing a gastroenterologist because I was suffering from acid reflux and digestive issues. I was seeing a urologist because I had experimented with different forms of testosterone in my later years. I was worried about prostate enlargement. And also, I didn't want to, if I wanted to go on HRT, hormone replacement therapy, I wanted to do it for a doctor. And back that 20 years ago, a urologist can do that. So I was seeing a urologist for that reason. I was seeing 2 endocrinologists, hormone specialists, because I wanted to balance my hormones. The reason I was seeing 2 is because one would not prescribe what I wanted or what I was looking for, so I would have to see both. And I had 2 general physicians. Who am I missing? Hematologist, gastroenterologist, urologist, 2 general physicians, and 2 endocrinologists. That makes us 6. And as you can imagine, it was a
Mess.
full-time job
Yeah, mess.
because I would also have to argue my position to them and justify why I wanted to do certain things. And I had to get them to approve what my plan was. And I had to prove with evidence, including doing the blood test, that there was such a case. A lot of the topics that I brought in, they had no clue of how to deal with. An example was one endocrinologist that I was seeing at Mount Sinai, and he was a young doctor, smart. I had to argue with him that I needed an estrogen blocker because I wanted to prevent a condition called gynecomastia. And that was new for him. So when he asked me, why would you want an estrogen blocker? That's for women that have cancer, want to block estrogen because an estrogen source cancer. And I said, well, in men, if you have a high level of testosterone for even temporary time, you convert a lot of that testosterone to estrogen. And if at the time your estrogen levels are high enough, they will activate your breast glands and you start to develop breast tissue. And you can Google that and look for gynecomastia and see even bodybuilders and other athletes who have taken steroids or other hormones, and you can see it evident because they're lean, but they have a portion of their nipple that looks like a small breast. And now it's so much more widespread even on younger kids, not because they're on steroids, because the hormones in the food. So that's an example where I'll have to present my argument in order to get a prescription for an estrogen blocker to the endocrinologist. So it was very rough, and I just had to go through the paces in order to be able to get what I wanted to accomplish
Yeah.
from my own health. So I was looking for someone who had the knowledge that can replace all 6 of these doctors into one. And I found one. Don't want to get into the details. It was just, I guess, somebody, let's say karma, let's say the luck, led me to find the right person. The only one person that could help me in all of Toronto or province of Ontario, who had a knowledge that complement my knowledge in the specific issues I was having. And I became his patient, and I was so successful, and my problems were resolved in 1 2-hour meeting with him, that I asked him to work with me and help my clients, because I was also working and I was very busy, having clients my age and older that needed help. And I was able to convince them to work with me and help my clients, and that's how I started what I've become today. So since then, 2,000 patients later, it's like I went back to medical school, because every single one of these patients that we had for consultations, I was present in the room, and I was able to learn. It's like going back to school, the details of what the medical establishment has to offer in primarily hormone replacement therapy, but in the last few years I've concentrated on other fields like obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer to some degree, and alternative methods of medicine and alternative methods of helping these people get healthy, because my system, the system I've developed, is more about finding the source of the problem, not masking the problem with drugs and mostly prescription drugs that alleviate the symptoms but do not cure the problem.
Yeah. And you a person who actually trying to find the problem and fix it and remove it, right? So
Yes, that takes a lot of work,
Yeah.
and our health system doesn't offer that today. A 10-minute visit with your doctor, maybe I can address one symptom.
yeah.
That means you get one prescription with it. But there's nothing being said about why,
Yeah.
how.
Well, I don't know on medical system, but I still think prevention is better than curing the disease.
That's right.
So,
Prevention is, unfortunately, my clients that I have, they're already quite compromised, so we can't even do prevention. We have to resolve the problem and find the source of the problem. Prevention would be someone who's 17 years old and has not fallen into the bad habits and all the lifestyle issues that a 60-year-old has today,
yeah.
because they're just too young. Then they can apply prevention. You just can't tell them this is what you can't do. But when you have a 50, 45, 50, 60-year-old, they've already have caused quite a few problems or damage to themselves. So now you go, instead of prevention, stop, change, and go after curing
Yeah.
the problem or the condition.
I will touch one topic which really amazed me when you was talking about, and everybody like, oh, George, you talk a lot, but I love when you talk, George, because every time you tell me a story, and I like, oh, it's so much interesting stuff going on. You told me a story about how they feed chicken, and I honestly am still amazed how our usual chicken supply is coming into hand. And do you mind sharing the story with me again?
It's not a story. It's how our food supply has been tainted, or how the food supply has been compromised. Chicken is part of our food supply. To make food cheaper, affordable, still try to make profit, and do it on a large scale. So because of all the things I just mentioned, is what makes my story so fascinating.
Yeah.
So in today's world, and I have this from one source that it's not a validated source, it's basically my cousin. He worked in a chicken factory, a processing chicken factory. And they would slaughter and prepare 100,000 chickens a day. And this was in Holland, in Amsterdam. So it's a massive operation. And he was describing to me what methods they use to be able to kill and prepare meat for consumption all in 24 hours. But the story you're referring to is before that happens. So most chicken factories or chicken producing farms, they have the chickens in cages. So they're not allowed to move that way. They can grow faster. I think, because I cannot confirm, the life cycle of a chicken is 40 days. So what they do is stand inside a cage. They have lights on, so they're forced to eat and stand, and grow. Of course, they're injected with hormones and antibiotics to prevent them from making themselves and everybody, all the other chickens, sick. And at the same time, they have to make it effortless for them to eat. So these cages are in a system where they can feed them easily, not one by one, but in mass. So these chickens are side by side, and you can imagine like a U or a square, and outside of the square, they have the feed, and on that feed, which is so close to the cage, all the chicken has to do is lean over through the cage, eat, and stay where the chicken is. So one of the problems that they encountered early was when they were giving this feed to the chickens, there were mice that were also feeding on the chicken feed because it was a buffet for them.
Yeah.
And since these places are not insulated like a house would be, these mice would find their way into this chicken factories, and they would just be coming back in more and more ways to find food, so they would just keep going and eating. And now the people in charge were losing money, and they had to alleviate that problem. Not to mention that mice can have other diseases, and they're usually defecate where they eat, so it's not a very good scenario. So what they start to do is they start to add arsenic on the chicken feed, because the chicken feed blended with the arsenic would kill the mice, but because the chickens are a larger animal and it would take them a larger dose, they will survive. So the way I found that out is when I had clients come in and they had been eating chicken all the time, meaning 5-6 days a week, I noticed that because I had this story already, or had this information already in my head, out of curiosity I started to check their arsenic levels, and lo and behold, their arsenic levels were through the roof. So the chicken ate the arsenic, the humans ate the arsenic with the chicken, and at that much frequency, the levels were higher and higher. So in order to kill the mice, chickens had to eat arsenic among all the other chemicals that they eat.
That's an incredible story. Every time I'm taking breath away when I hear you talk about it. What the solution for the chicken then? Like, no more chicken, or we should grow our own chicken in the backyard?
It's expensive and it's difficult, but now that people are aware, I mean, I just pointed out one problem with the chicken, the arsenic, but there's many others. They take antibiotics, you take the antibiotics, you become resistant to these antibiotics. They eat grains, and that is inflammatory. So if you eat chickens who are eating nothing but grains, among other things, then you're in a very high inflammatory state, because chicken are supposed to be free range and eat grass and other things, organic things. If you've seen chickens, they just pick on the ground. I've gone to a dairy farm, and after the cows are finished with the grass and there's still some left, they put the chickens out and eat the rest of it, among all kinds of things, bugs, whatever. But that's how a chicken is supposed to grow and be healthy.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. So you have to find small farms that have chickens, free-range chickens, what they call organic, in order to get the healthier and more effective way of eating protein, because chicken has very good protein. It's just that it comes with baggage.
Yeah.
It comes with a price to pay.
So recommendations to find a local farmer, basically, and
Local farmer with a reputation, and at the least, buy organic, non-grain fed chicken and
good.
turkey.
We'll switch a topic. Roll again.
12.
12. Okay. What is your favorite fruit?
My favorite food,
Yeah, fruit.
or my favorite fruit,
Yeah.
if I wasn't concerned with the sugar levels, it would be grapes, because I grew up in grapes,
Yeah.
sweet grapes, specific types of grapes.
Wine.
Yes. Actually, I liked almost all types of grapes, but I stopped eating a long time ago because my sugar levels were already too high. So my favorite to eat now is watermelon for its health benefits.
Yeah. George, you have a gym. your personal gym to work out. Do you train anyone to become a bodybuilder?
No. My clients are local clients because they're close by and they have specific needs and they need special attention. And I use my knowledge to help them with their exercise while they have an injury or they're compromised physically or they have imbalances. Because as you grow older, as I found out for myself, you become or you have more problems that need attention, so the training becomes what I call specialized.
Mm-hmm.
So I do this specialized training where I keep them from getting more injuries, give them the right type of exercises or program in order for them to do it to get results in a safe and productive way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like personal training one-on-one. And I've been doing it for such a long time that it's just stuck with me.
Mm.
That's how I started when I was 17, 18, and I was trying to make money. I used to work in gyms and I was a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And I used my knowledge in knowing about the human body and how to do exercises properly and the bodybuilding, how to be symmetrical, how to be balanced, how to include all aspects of exercise in terms of not just doing weights or not just doing machines, not just doing the cardio. It's just a mixture. And it applies to whose needs are to be addressed at what level.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
And of course, I work out.
Well, you don't need to pay subscription at least.
What's
You
that?
know, you don't need to pay subscription at least in the gym.
No, not my own place.
Yeah, just have your own gym. But it looked pretty amazing. First time I saw it, I was like, oof, you need to show me how to do proper squats. Because I think sometimes I don't do them properly. But
Squat is a very interesting exercise, and yes, most people that have not been shown how don't do it properly.
yeah, that's definitely what it is. Let's quickly come back to blood work, which you mentioned. I've been personally running a lot of blood labs. I've never been doing so much tests over the years, and I was doing when I was finding you. Like I did 6 or 7 tests, I think, on the blood work. So,
Okay.
yeah, I never been doing that much of the test. Could you explain why you prefer to do blood work every month to 2 months?
Actually, I don't prefer it. It's everybody's an individual case. So the initial blood test that we start with, we're looking for many different areas of things that are wrong, things that are causing the health problems that these people complain about.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can relate the right blood test, or I'll give an example, a thyroid test.
Mm-hmm.
So the conventional system only does one blood test. And the blood test is the test is called TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, but it does not explain what the thyroid gland is doing. And the thyroid gland is very important, the human body. There could be several different issues with a person's thyroid that in order to address them properly, you have to do 6 different blood tests for the thyroid. So the average doctor would do just the one, TSH, which does not really give men much information on how to treat a person Or, as I was telling you earlier, how I learned from the doctor I first met who had 20,000 patients that were taking thyroid medication. You can become a little more detailed with the blood tests, and then you can really find out, is there a problem and how to address the problem, because everybody has different needs. So apply that to all the other blood tests, and if you do a blood test for somebody just for testosterone and you find out the value, you cannot interpret how this person's testosterone levels got to the number or to the level that they're being tested on without knowing, well, what about their estrogen levels? What about their dihydrotestosterone levels? What about, there's another estrogen called estrone levels. What about their luteinizing hormone? What about their follicle stimulating hormone? Only when you do all these tests together, you can figure out what is going on with their sex hormones, specifically how they are or what levels they are and how to interpret those values in order to help them properly. There's men who don't need testosterone in order to increase their own testosterone. And unless you do these tests, you will not be able to ascertain these are the ones that can be treated in this way. So the reason for the extensive blood work is mainly to figure out and have precise information as to what is going on inside the body, and then apply the right treatment. And that's why this is a lot more, it's a lot more complex. And the reason for doing it every 2 months, if you do have treatment, you want to do the blood work to find out that the treatment is working and that the levels have improved to the area where they're optimal, so people can benefit the most, or they're not optimal enough, or the levels have gone too high, so you need to make adjustments. So it takes several times to properly assess a treatment because everybody reacts different.
How long usually medication this takes to take in, like supplements, we'll say, like to take in the body and show on the results of blood work?
Well, for supplements, it's days, of course, as far as the levels. As far as the benefits, it all depends. It could be weeks. For hormones or for other forms of treatment, it could take up to a month or take up to 6 months. Now you ask me, I'll ask the question for you, what's the difference between 1 month success versus 6 months?
Consistency?
Right. Consistency in following the protocol.
Yeah.
The other thing I have to overcome is the clients, patients not being truthful enough and complicate the treatment even further, because they would say, yes, I did this or I took this, but they wouldn't have, or they forget. And they want to be blamed for forgetting, so you have to accommodate a little bit of false information to realize that, okay, this is going to be a little bit longer.
But you see it's all in the blood work, right? Like as soon as I get blood work, you're like, not again.
Yep. I see right away. And I've gotten to the point now where before we start, I'll tell them, look, I know you didn't do what you're supposed to do. I don't even ask him. I already tell him, I know you didn't do it. And I want to know why. Oh, my wife, my family went on a trip, all kinds of excuses. Well, guess what? I have to do it all over again.
Yeah.
Because I know from those patients and clients that I have who follow it precisely, the results are there from the get-go. They get the results, they are extremely happy and satisfied and almost surprised that it took such a short time.
Yeah. I'm surprised how little you need, but keeping everything on a schedule, especially for me, it's crazy. Like with the trucking, it's crazy. I do my best all the time, and plus, you need workout as well, right?
One thing that applies to everyone,
Yeah.
is if you aren't, you have to become organized real fast.
Yeah.
If you're not organized with your own personal health, not just your health, your eating, if you don't have a plan, and if you don't take time to organize yourself, this is not going to be it's not going to be success, because it can be some work, especially in the beginning,
Yeah.
especially if you have to change a lot of habits.
Yeah.
And of course, the timing is very important. Like with thyroid medication, you cannot have coffee, food, an hour and a half at least, before or after medication. Some people don't bother.
Yeah.
That makes it difficult to figure out that this particular protocol is working because they're not following the instructions.
Mm.
That goes with the testosterone or hormone replacement therapy for women as well. You need to follow the plan. So I already can tell when I meet people who's going to be more successful just by their attitude and how organized they are with their life in general.
Yeah.
So when I do my initial consultations, I find out a lot about them in general and sometimes specifically, including genetic background, including the amount of stress at work, at home, and their ability to be successful relies on being organized.
Mm.
That's the number one qualification you need to partake in this program. You got to, if you're not, you got to become organized.
I see.
Also, you have to have normality. Like you, for example, days you don't sleep, days you sleep. Your circadian rhythm is all over the place. You have to have the same time frame and same alignment for sleep pattern, eating patterns, and for workout patterns. Oh, I had times I worked out 5 days in a row, and then I took 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
That is not normal.
Yeah.
Consistency, as you said, becomes now part of the organized. Consistency, organized, you'll be successful. Because the solutions to some of the issues that people have when they come here is really that first part, to become organized and to be consistent. And if they try, this is what I tell everybody, look, just try this for the first 2 months or 45 days. And see, you will already, before you do a follow-up blood test, before you will already feel it and the change. And the blood test will be a validation of the changes that you feel that are beneficial to you.
Yeah.
And they agree. Last weekend, 2 of my most successful clients that came in, they've been with me for quite some time. The news were great because I already know what to expect it. They do exactly as they are told to be successful, and they can see it. Like the blood test, they already know before the blood test result, already know they're feeling great. Because it's one of the first questions I ask people in the follow-up. Well, how do you feel? What has changed?
Yeah. I felt it, I think after we started doing all that in a month and a half, I felt way different amount of energy. I was able to wake up and get up off the bed and continue going and doing stuff what I able to do. Work out in the gym was way easier.
And
way easier.
to think about this, you don't have, personally, as much of a deficit as other people do coming in. You're younger, you're already relatively more healthy than some of these people that are about twice your age. And they have far more symptoms, issues, compromised, and if they are to change, they will feel twice as good because they were beginning further down.
Yeah.
So if this is what we call optimization of health, you are just below. These people are all the way down. So the net difference they feel is much greater than what you felt.
Yeah.
And they're like ecstatic. It's like, oh, I'm just like being young again. So the more issues and the more compromised you are, the more effective this particular system or plan is.
What is your favorite test to check on the blood work? So one favorite, just one, pick one.
One of the blood tests that always intrigues me and I look forward to seeing is a blood test called high sensitivity C-reactive protein, HSCRP. Okay, so I was describing as a blood test. It's not, I wouldn't say it's my favorite. It's the one that gives me an insight on the person's health. Because if I say testosterone, that's just one in 1,000 different markers. I'm looking. But what is different about HSCRP is the number itself tells me whether they have risk for cardiovascular disease, how high is the risk, but it also tells me if there is two types of inflammation based on the number that I can examine or I can investigate further. If the number is at a certain level, I know the inflammation they're suffering is from food. If the number is higher, much higher than normal, then I know there is an infection or some kind of disease happening at that time that this person did the blood test. How I differentiate from all the three is by looking at a urine sample and something called CBC, complete blood count. You can ascertain that the inflammation is from food or the inflammation is from an infection, because they will have a lot of white blood cells and other types of autoimmune cells that are on a high level, leukocytes, lymphocytes, neutrophils, and they will indicate if it's a urinary tract infection, if it's a virus, or if it's a bacteria infection. And you can eliminate the food aspect. But if they have no infection, no sign of any type of autoimmune situation, then you can narrow down, okay, whatever you're eating right now is giving you a high amount of inflammation. That's why I like the blood test, because it's so informative. And after, you can utilize this test like with one or two patients.
Yeah.
You have to see hundreds and hundreds of this particular test, and then you educate yourself. Oh, okay, I know what that is.
Yeah. I understand. Well, roll the dice. Roll the dice.
Oh, 7.
7. What country have you never visited but want to visit?
Costa Rica.
How come?
I have looked at videos, pictures. I've talked to many of my clients that have been there personally, and I would love to visit. It has the climate and the food that I would like to have if I were to retire somewhere. Because the climate is it's hurricane, tornado proof where it is, so you have to worry about inclement weather. And it's close to the equatorial line, which means the temperature is consistently between 25 to 30 all year long. And it's one of the blue zones that, I don't know if you're aware of what the blue zones are.
Criminal activity, I presume?
No, the blue zone is a selective area by National Geographic reporter who visited the specific areas around the world for the one reason that this particular places around the world have the highest amount of centenarians, men and women that are over 100 years old, that live the longest.
Gotcha.
And he wanted to know why. Obviously, everybody wants to live as long as possible.
Yeah.
So he wanted to visit this place to see what was it that made this particular country or place so good to live in, where the people, a large majority of the people live the longest. And Costa Rica is one of them, so I understand from looking into it, it has to do with the food, the climate, the fact that they're not as civilized as we are, which means they don't have the amount of pollution and toxicity that we have.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's pristine and it's more natural state.
Yeah. Well, moving on to your legacy, what question is, what works in the next 5 to 10 years? What are you planning to accomplish?
I would like to be able to leave a system behind when I'm gone that can continue to help people in my absence. That's probably, it took me a very long time to find something I really, really enjoy, have passion for. The exercise, the training, the nutrition, all those areas that I concentrated most of my life, they were good. I really have passion, but this part of my present occupation is probably the best, most passionate line of work I've ever done. And I wish I was 35 years old again with this brain, and I could do it for the next 70 years.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. I'm still waiting for your course. Maybe I'll become next nutritionist because every time I listen to you talk about health, I'm inspired to do better. So
Good. I'm glad.
definitely waiting for your course, sir. So we're gonna finish up with 3 roles, and we will do 3 questions. So let's do first one. What's the number?
Oh, 19.
19. That's interesting. What do you love to do in your free time?
I would rephrase the question because I don't do it anymore. But what I used to love doing in my free time is race cars. So in my previous life, I was a part-time car racer. And I did it for about 8 years or so. And I abandoned exercise, abandoned healthy living, and I was just immersed in driving for fun. So if I were to be able to do it again, I would do it again.
What car is the best to drive?
Sports car?
Well, I mean, which car you drove? It was the best one.
The best car I had was a 911 Turbo convertible, which was had a lot of factory installed toys that you at the time wouldn't be able to get from another shop or somebody else that you could trust to do. Like, it had all these additional extra and options that made the car just incredible to drive, and all-wheel drive, and I can put the top down. So that was on my, I don't know if it was my favorite car. I used to also have, I don't know if you remember, the Mazda RX-7 that was discontinued
Yeah.
in 1993 or 94. And he had that special engine, the Winkle. So it's the engine is like a box and it's so small.
Yeah.
Winkle engine. And it had a low center of gravity. And it was one of the best because I was able to drive that car in the racetrack, and I did really well because it was incredibly balanced.
That's impressive. Next question.
20.
Ooh, 20. Where is it? What is the best breakfast?
What's the best for me?
Yeah.
For me, the best breakfast would be eggs, fried eggs, a meat portion. Could be turkey bacon or could be lean steak, half an avocado, and 1 slice of sourdough bread.
That sounds like a breakfast of champions. Let's do the last one.
11.
11. I think we already got 11.
You want to roll again?
I could, no. I have more questions to ask. I'll just ask a special question. What is one thing on your bucket list that you haven't done yet?
Traveling to many places that I would like to travel. One of them is Costa Rica. That's the one thing that I think I've missed out on because I haven't, due to the nature of my work. I do 7 days a week. I rarely go on vacation. So places, different places around the world I would like to visit. So Costa Rica, Panama, Spain, Italy, Dubai, Southeast Asia, Japan would be a very nice place. So when I think about bucket list, that's right away what comes up.
Yeah. If you would be 45 years younger, what you would recommend yourself to do or not to do?
Oh, if I was 45 years old again, I would not waste as much
no,
time.
45 years, way before, so you would be 20, about 20.
If I was 20 again,
Yeah. What do you would recommend from yourself?
I would recommend this is what I would recommend to anybody because it would work with anybody. Find something to do that you don't call work. That you don't look at the clock to see how quickly you can get out to go so enjoy life because you're miserable.
Yeah.
Find something that you can do and it's still late at night, you can still be there and still love what you do. That's the one thing I would recommend to anyone who is, if I was or if they were 20, do what you love and love what you do, and that's my best advice. If I had the second is stay away from alcohol, drugs, toxic food, toxic women or men, and be as natural and as close to nature as possible. Avoid the city, avoid the technology, and be as close to nature as possible because it's so rewarding, even at that age. You're more balanced, more grounded. And the last one, exercise. Every day, do something physical. Every day. You live the longest. And I'll stop there.
Thank you, George. Thank you for finding time for this lovely podcast.
You're welcome.
And I hope one day we will be able to sit on your yacht and record another one.
That'll be awesome.
Thank you, George.